Hi, welcome to Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey. I'm going to talk about the film Steve Jobs. Pretty sure that's just what it's called. Steve Jobs came out in 2015. Let me double check that. It is just called Steve Jobs. Came out in 2015, and it's about Steve Jobs. Not familiar? Somehow Steve Jobs played a key role in the evolution of personal computers back in the day, back in the 70s, 80s, into the 90s. Came out Macintosh, all kinds of stuff. Um, he and Bill Gates were like the two guys that really propelled personal computing into what it is now. He's since passed away. He died of cancer, sadly. I was never, I gotta have Macintosh. I gotta have Windows. I just need a computer. And so I was never really big into who Steve. I wonder who this man is personally. I don't care. But I've tried to muscle down the movie and I can't. I can't get through the whole thing. It looks good, well directed. Cinematography, all that kind of stuff. Score, fine. Writing, I guess, but the acting is really good. The guy who plays Steve Jobs, he plays Magneto in the X-Men films. I know him as Christensen from Band of Brothers. But what really impresses me about this film was Seth Rogen, who's going through a lot of drama right now, but he really does a good job with his character. I thought his performance was very good. His dialogue, and it's a very dialogue heavy film. Jeff Daniels is also in this as Steve Jobs' old boss. But the problem I have with the film is that it's just wholly unrealistic. And you can pretty much tell that coming out of the gate. They have this theme where Steve Jobs, every other scene, he's got to do a product launch. And it's kind of like, here's the latest, Linux and just evolution of personal computers. We got a new product launch. And there's this whole backstory about his wife or his ex-girlfriend or fiance or wife or something had a kid. He didn't think it was his. She said it was his. So he's got 5 minutes until his product launch, and the auditorium is about to fill up with people. There's press, there's drama. Oh my God. And he's got this little kid there. And in that minute, we got to address, is this my kid or not? And he's nice, trying to be nice to the kid, but it's like, this isn't my little girl, Lisa. And you see her getting older through the years, and it's just like, no, no, just no. I just don't accept the premise. He's got a frapping product launch that happens to be the day his ex shows up with a kid who, and I don't recall if by law he had to watch a kid or something. I don't know. Like, so, but it's like, you're going to have this conversation right now? No, you're not. And as the film goes on, it's a lot of flashbacks, and the earlier points in the flashbacks is him and Seth Rogen, who plays this engineer. I don't know his name. Woz, they just call him Woz. It probably Wozniacki. And he's like shows up at one point. Yeah, he shows up. This is who Seth Rogen plays, and he's like, you need to acknowledge the Windows 2 team. Meanwhile, the little girl's there, and the ex-wife or something's there. She's like, why? And it's like, I have zero capacity to believe that all of this stuff is happening all at once. So there's probably this drama happened, and this drama happened, and then he had the product launch, but not at the same moment every time. And it's like every time he has a product launch that dude, come here. What? Come, come. This just walked in the door. I don't know what happened. No, Jokai. Oh, he sure is. Do you want this thing off? You deal with somebody else, because you kind of deserve it. I know you want to get outside because it's springtime. That is too cute. Let me get that off you, buddy. You look miserable. There you go. There you go. They did that on. Someone did that on purpose. Yeah, but I just don't believe the premise of it. That all this drama is happening at one time. Every time he has a product launch, all his old friends and ex-wives come out of nowhere and have to have this conversation right now. Not 2 hours ago, not last week, not next Monday. Right now, no. I just don't buy it. And then every single product launch, there at one point, this is like the 80s. He wants the computer to say hello, and then oh my god, there's Glitch City, and it's like, okay. So if that happened at one time and you're brand new, this is your first product launch, yeah, I could see that. Knocking shit over, dude. I could see that, sure. But then you learn from that, and the next time you make sure a month in advance that your shit works. So it looks good, good looking film. In terms of dialogue, like within individual scenes, writing's fine. Acting is really good. The dude playing Steve Jobs, I don't know his name. Should probably look it up. He does a good job. He does a good job of being Steve Jobs. I never met Steve Jobs. I don't know Steve Jobs, but he does a good job making a compelling character. I just can't get. I can't care. I can't. The whole time I'm just like, you wouldn't have this conversation with this kid who you say isn't even your kid, and it has to happen right before this product launch. Like, and then every time, every 3 and 5 years or whatever, you put up on a new computer, all this drama shows up right then. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So I can't buy what they're trying to sell me. Clearly, what they're doing is they're taking the most exciting thing he would have going at any time, which is a product launch, and take all his life drama, and then of course, like there's you flashback over a course of like 20 years with Jeff Daniels, who is his own boss, and then the guy who Seth Rogen plays shows up and says, after a certain point, those guys never had another conversation. So like they try to play him Jeff Daniels' character off like some kind of pseudo father figure because I guess Steve Jobs didn't know his dad and all this stuff, and I just can't care. I'm sorry, I just can't care. You're Steve Frappin Jobs. So by the time you're getting into like the mid '90s, and they had business, they had to do layoffs at one point, and they're just giving you the crux of who this guy was, and that's fine. But once you make a few hundred million, you don't have problems, son. So it's like, I never got to know my father. Jeff Daniels, be my second father for me. I'm like, I don't give a shit. You got too much money, fame, and acclaim for me to care about any of this. Here's a novel idea. Got a problem? Got a woe? Throw some money at it, dude. You're a billionaire. This is not, it just, So go watch the movie Rudy, and you worry, will this kid get to play on the practice squad for the Notre Dame, and it's his dream. It's like, I can get behind that, but one of the reasons I can get behind that is he's like a downtrodden, hard knocks kind of kid. He wasn't big enough, he wasn't fast enough, but he had this dream, and he overcame. Steve Jobs, man, by like 96, he's rolling in money. It's like falling out of the sky, and he's getting knocked down by billions of dollars. Like, I don't care, your kid's got drama. Yeah, and then at one point, Seth Rogen's like, you're gonna lay off the Windows 2 team, and Steve Jobs is like, they're gonna live in the nicest houses of anybody on unemployment, and that's supposed to make him look like a jerk, I'm gonna assume, or maybe they're giving you both sides of the argument and you decide. But I'm like, he's got a point. Like, they're not going to be destitute because they're getting laid off from Apple. They got some money, and if they didn't put some money aside when it was flowing in, that's on them. And then like Seth Rogen is giving this really impassioned speech. He's like, just acknowledge the Windows 2 team, just the top guys. It's just right. It's just right. And I'm like, no one knows who they are. No one cares. So when Steve Jobs is like, this is a product launch for different product, I'm not going to bring up the old product. And even if you did, is the world going to stop spinning on its axis? Like, you don't mention the old team for the new product. What are the consequences to this? So if Rudy plays for Notre Dame or doesn't, that's his whole damn life, dude. And in a greater pantheon of things, how does it affect me? It doesn't, but it's a compelling story, and you feel the gravity of all the pain and suffering and passion he's put in to play football or something. There's consequences at stake that matter, and you can feel it as you're watching the film. Here, it's like he said something of me, and so at one point, I don't know if it was girlfriend, ex fiance, ex wife. She's like, "You said that I slept with 28 million people," and he's like, "No, the point is, by the results you got on the DNA for your little girl, even if it's 6%, that's still millions of people. That doesn't necessarily mean it was my kid." And so again, I think they're supposed to paint him as having rough edges and he's a jerk, but I'm like, I perfectly understand his logic. He didn't, that's not what he was saying. I wasn't even there. I was like 4 when this conversation was happening, and I'm still like, but his point is a fair point. Even if the DNA test says that it's a 90 some percent, it's not 100%, that could still be that's a fair point. It's like I was using an algorithm, and it's like I can't buy, real quick, just to be clear, again, him and his ex had a kid. For whatever reason, he didn't think it was his kid. They did a DNA test, in case I had to make that clear. And so for the bulk of the film, he's like, this isn't my kid, for whatever rationale he had. But then she's like, you said in a magazine that I slept with millions of people. And he's like, no, that because it was only 94%, statistically, that could be a lot of people. It doesn't 100% guarantee it's my kid. And I'm like, I can't buy that she doesn't understand that she actually thinks he's implying, and so if she thinks he's implying she slept with 28 million people or something, I don't care about her. I don't care about her drama. That's too stupid for me to be concerned. And then at one point, the little girl, he's talking to the little girl, and she's got a ruler, and she's like, with the cube, and she's like, it's off, and he's like, it's a Walmart ruler. Like, he's supposed to be painted as a jerk, and the whole time I'm like, dude, that's not your kid. Like, you're not being a horrible person here. This doesn't make you a horrible person. But if you're at work, what is she doing there in the first place? Maybe I should watch the whole movie. That might help. But I just can't. There's no consequences. The drama that they try to dig up to make his life dramatic and care about his life, I didn't care. Like, the Jeff Daniels character is his old boss who keeps showing up throughout the movie, and they have conversations, and it's like, I can't. If my old boss showed up and said, I got a beef about something, I'm like, I don't work for you anymore. I don't care. And then, he's like, why do people think I fired you from Apple? And it's like, does it matter? Does it matter? You're both wealthy people. Jeff Daniels was the CEO of fuck gives a crap. You got too much money for me to care about this minor little thing. So again, Steve Jobs came out in 2015. It looks good. The dialogue's tight. The acting is really good. These is all good performances. I just don't care about any of the consequences of any of the things they're talking about. It doesn't really matter. At one point, he's got a low-level dude, or an engineer dude, who's been with him for 15 years and who recommended Lisa see a therapist. And he's like, why did you recommend Lisa see a therapist? And he's like, you're stigmatizing like this perfectly normal thing. And I'm like, I don't care if that little girl saw a therapist or not. And if she did see a therapist, gives a shit. You're yuppies from the burbs. You don't have problems. These aren't problems. Like, oh no, the little girl saw a therapist. Like, millions of people, like a lot of people from the suburbs have the money to do it, go see therapists. Eh? I don't get it. So, it's a well-made film about consequences that I couldn't care less about. Steve Jobs 2015. Watch it or don't. I really don't care. It's Whitey White Guy. So I'm Whitey. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Share me. Well, you're not going to share me. You're not going to share. I don't really care. You do got to see this, though. Where is he? Where is he? Oh, there's your guy. Yo, fuck you, too. Cunt. All right. Cheers. Where's the button?